morning, everybody. My name is Kristopher. I am an alcoholic. I've been led through this process with the help of a couple of Big Book Step Study sponsors, found a loving God within this process. I've made my amends and I practice the latter steps to the best of my willingness daily. Joe, thank you for asking me to come down here and share on Step 12. It's an honor and a privilege to be up here. Just knowing the fact that I would have been dead 8 years ago if I continued the route that I was going. To be up here, to be able to wake up, not have to be controlled by an outside substance, an outside entity, or an authoritative figure. I'm really, really deeply appreciative of the days that I get to live throughout one day at a time. My experience on 12 steps comes from my experience with the 11 prior steps. And my 12th step starts with somebody's first step. And, like if you're new in here, if you're coming back, or if you're just checking this out, there's no real indicators of being an alcoholic other than having a physical allergy. Material losses aren't an indicator, and material gains are not an indicator of spiritual growth. What we do in here is we grow intangibly. We gain access to tangible assets, at least for me, that were buried deep inside my soul, and that's what we kind of acquire. So, I've had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, and it's been the most amazing awakening that I could possibly ever imagine. And the question is, what are we awakening to? And for me, the awakening was the awakening to the truth that God lives and breathes. And I experience God as life presents itself. And there's no other highest form of truth other than, God is real to me, God resides within me, within everybody else, in and through all things, from a microscopic piece of sand to the cosmos. And I've been able to tap into that and access a power greater than myself through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And so, I'll give you an account of kind of what it was and what it's like now. What it was like. I had a full brother, a half brother, and a stepbrother. I had a mom and a stepmom. I had a father and a stepfather. And I really didn't know where I quite fit in my family. And I always felt like something was wrong with me. I didn't know what it was. I knew I thought differently from a very early age. I knew that I behaved differently from a very early age, but I didn't know that it was somewhat of a spiritual malady, a lack of God in my life. Nobody had ever offered me a solution until I got to Alcoholics Anonymous at the age of 32 with 27 arrests, 14 documented assaults, and 5 DWIs. No one had ever offered me a solution. Through the nurses, the psychiatry, the anger management, jails, institutions, CBT, DBT, smart recovery, Dharma punks, anything, it really doesn't matter. They always told me of a place where I needed to get to, right? They always told me that you need to find peace and serenity. And the only place that I ever sought to find those things was at the bottom of a bottle, at the bottom of a spoon, scraping the bottom of a bong, because that's where I go. With the shades drawn, and I'll tear them in half. And I'll burn my life to the ground just to feel not myself for a second. And the amount of booze and drugs that I put into my body, I hate the word copious, so I'm not even going to use it, but the proportions and contortions that I twisted into myself to not be myself, because I was so adamantly angry at God for the way that I was born, the way that I looked, the way that I was treated as a child, the way that I wasn't loved, the way that I wanted people to love me in the way that I thought that they should, and not knowing that they'd only had the capacity, and not only knowing that there are more people that don't exist that ever have existed in the entire race of humanity. And I get to be one of the lucky ones that get to experience this life. And so, the way that I felt, they talk about the loneliness of an alcoholic. And from an early age, there was no substance, there was no character, there was an emptiness in me. And I always felt a victim to it. And I fell victim to it. You know, the selfless, the self-pity, the self-worth, the self-esteem, no ambition, no purpose, no drive, no dreams, no aspirations. I would look at these people and grow up with these people, and they would have all of these things that I wanted. And I didn't know that I possessed them, because my mind overruled and ruled out anything that God ever gave me. And so I found drugs and alcohol at age 11. And it gave me the peace and serene, feeling. Like everything just went away. The nervousness, the anxiety, the depression, the fear, the attention, like I no longer needed it from anybody or anything. And I've had some experiences in the past where, like, if you do a 4-step, like you'll find out that, like, you can pinpoint when you began to run on self-will at an early age. Like you no longer needed your parents, even though you did. And like you can point out the past, you can point out and pinpoint like where you passed beyond the point of human aid. And like I needed to do those things because like it talks about reason in here. And reason only gets us so far. Like I don't even get credit for making a decision to come to Alcoholics Anonymous, Like I used to blame my parents, like, because I didn't choose to be born. But I was. And through this process, like, God gave me a purpose, and God gave me a direction, and God gave me insight. God allows me to use my hindsight and live in foresight and be able to help people in a way that I never thought I could. He's given me dreams and aspirations today. He's given me a foundation of spiritual principles that were laid at my feet that stand on my tool belt that I use, where once held like a gun. And if you're new in here and you felt that way, if you felt alone, like there's reasons for that. Like I felt alone because like when I found out my friends weren't my friends, like I felt really alone. And when I wasn't really sharing the things that were going on in my life because I didn't have a language, I felt even more alone. And when I go through this process, like I realized that the only reason why I felt alone is because there was an absence of God in my life. There was an absence of God in the presence of my consciousness. And there's some things that I've come to realize as an awakening as a result of these steps. And like, we're here to change ideas, attitudes, and belief systems. You know what I mean? And like God's allowed me to shatter a lot. Like I've experienced everything that I wasn't supposed to experience, and even asked God, like, am I supposed to be experiencing this right now? Kind of questioning his will for me. But like I've gotten to shatter rigid belief systems here and be able to share those experiences with other people. My most heinous liabilities became my most valuable assets. And it has nothing to do with material gains or material losses. It has everything to do with my experience and the way that I felt. And if I can help somebody identify what those things are through this process and help them gain access to a power greater than myself or themselves, like that's the gift of it, Like what's the one thing that you can give away and never give back? It's a relationship with God. And the thing of it is, like, it tells us that if we give it away, it gets amplified 100-fold. And so, like, I've set out on a quest to help other men find God through this process. And I pray every day when I wake up, for God to shatter me in pieces and pick me up throughout the day and put me back together. Because of myself, I amount to nothing. I don't care about you. I don't get to know you. I don't want to try and help solve problems, ethical dilemmas, moral issues, what have you. But what I've come to find out is like alcoholism isn't a moral issue. Amends are not a moral issue. Taking inventory is not a moral issue. It's not a judgment on yourself. It's an assessment of where you are at in life. And like this whole thing is like a process of forgiveness, right? And for me, like the first 3 steps are about God. The next 3 are about myself. And the next 3 are about, making amends and the people that I live with, like, that I'm about, around. And the maintenance steps are really to, like, keep all those, the 3 sections in check, 1 through 3, 4 through 6, 7 through 9. And I can say, if, like, your life isn't as good as you think it should be, and there's no action being taken, like, the actions are in the steps being taken with a Big Book Step Study sponsor, qualified sponsor. Like, I was told that, like, because I carry this book, that I'm armed with the facts about myself, and I'm armed with the facts about you, and that I know you even before you get to know yourself. And I can help and be beneficial in that way. That's what this book tells me. I've been sober for 8 years, and I had to take off. We were talking about coincidences last night in spirituality at a young people's meeting, because I carry this message to normal Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, and don't get me wrong, like, I found my Big Book Step Study sponsor at a normal Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and the thing of it, the only difference is that, we offer a solution here. Our message is hope, and the promise is freedom. And if you do this work, like, I was convinced and I was sold on the ideas contained in this book that if I did this thing, right, if I read these words or, these spells and cast them onto myself, right, like my life would get better. I'm a low bottom drunk. I lost 16 months of my life behind bars. I got told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, who to pee with, who to poop with. Every Wednesday was Spaghetti Wednesday. Every Friday was Fish Friday. Every Monday was, like, whatever was left over. And like, I didn't want to be controlled anymore. I didn't want to be controlled by people, places, and things. But as a result of the work, I realized that none of that controlled me. Like, I was trapped in the bondage of myself, and I was faced with the consequences of my own annihilation. And through this step work, it allows me to deconstruct an ego. And the ego's kind of funny, It's like the internet, It can connect you and disconnect you simultaneously everywhere. And the way that I felt was genuinely disconnected. And because I've done this work and have had an awakening as a result of these, like, I have an untethered soul towards God, towards the spirit of the universe, whatever you want to call it. And, like, the best way to tap into that, like, if you're new in here, like, in step 11, it talks about prayer. It's a raising of the heart and mind to God, to this living entity that is not in our form, but he gave this form so that we could recognize it when we see it and feel it. And like, God works in my life. No, he doesn't. I work for the God idea in my life. Because the God idea in my life has been the only thing that has made my life any better. Like, I lost my freedom. I lost my right to choose. I lost my right to make a decision. I lost my right to drive. I lost my right for purchasing power, to even, like, have a mobile. I lost my fright. I lost, like, my right to have friends. I lost my right to have a family. I lost my right to take care of my own daughter. Like, alcohol will speak to you in sweet, innocent, disgusting nothings and promise you the world. And it never delivers on that promise. It never does. It will never respect you, your life, your body, your friends, your freedom. It will never respect anything that God has given you. It will take it away. And more importantly, I will make the ultimate sacrifice for alcohol and give all those things away simultaneously. For those of you who are new, and for those who haven't had a spiritual experience in quite some time after doing this work, working with others will provide an infinite amount of spiritual experiences. Working with others will introduce you to parts of yourself that you didn't get to meet in your fourth step, that you weren't unaware of, that you become aware of in your sixth and seventh step. They will show you what tools that you need to work on, at least for this alcoholic, the ones that I need to sharpen, the ones that I no longer need and can discard, and maybe come back to them like, the old toys in the toy chest and go, oh yeah, that was nice. This book talks about failing to enlarge our spiritual life through self-sacrifice and working with others. When I was 2 years sober, I had done a step process for dummies, and I had an experience. But this book contains suggestions and warnings and promises and prayers. And if you take the suggestions and you heed the warnings and you say the prayers, the promises do come true. And I'll say this: sometimes those promises get taken away, and they can lead you to a spiritually sick place. I just recently had it happen. I built a life and a future. As a result of the steps, I got my license back, I got a nice car, I got custody of my kid back. I have beautiful relationships now that I can literally, there's no lie, there's no white lie, there's no cheat, there's no stolen anything in between me and another person. And having that is invaluable. I'm in this point of surrender again, I went out and got an education, I went out and got a career, I make good money, and I've built this thing up, right? And it was all based on the foundation and grounded and founded in a power greater than ourselves. And sometimes there are things that block you off from the sunlight of the Spirit and you don't even know it. And for me, I'm in this cleaning out process now where I had to let go of a relationship, and I had to let go of my dog, and I had to let go of my guns and my ammo, because I figured that those are the things that are blocking me off from the sunlight of the Spirit. And more importantly, I had to let go of everything that I thought that I needed. The material gains are they only suffice so much. And I was talking to a newcomer last night, and I said, a shot of tequila will hit you hard. A bag of dope getting shot into your veins, that'll hit you hard. A speedball will hit you hard. The only difference is it's very impactful, and it lasts a short while. And my whole life, I've been looking for a solution. I've been looking for a tangible solution for an intangible problem. And when I found an intangible solution, it became tangible through this process. And that solution, as we go through these steps and start to awaken, right? It's very slow, it's very subtle. But once you become aware of it, it's so sudden and profound, as it describes in the spiritual experience in the back of this book, that you can't even deny its existence. And the thing of it is, may not pack a powerful punch because you have to go through pain and trauma and tears and blood and sweat. But the impact lasts a lifetime. I heard this, it's not a quote from me, but I thought I was a sheep my whole life, a black one at best. And as a result of this, I became an awakened lion. And I'm not trying to awaken other sleeping sheep around here. I'm trying to awaken other sleeping lions so that we know the truth and we carry the truth. And we're responsible with the truth. Because the truth, strange to say for an alcoholic, is that we'll fucking die. And I'm so tired of seeing people die, people I love, people that have been offered the solution that can't extend their hand and accept it. So if you're new in here, and on the days that you feel like dying, or there's things that happen outside of the halls that make you die just a little bit inside, that feeling, that loneliness, that pain, it's not pain and it's not loneliness. That thing that resides in between your heart and your stomach, what I've come to find is that that's God's voice physically manifesting in me, and it's calling me as an invitation to go within with those things that hurt me the most and give those things to God. Because I can't handle today. Yesterday was heavy. We can put it down now. Thanks for letting me share.